So back in 2013, in my sophomore year of college, I watched an anime called Attack on Titan, one that you probably know pretty well at this point. At the time, I had seen a few animes in my life, although mostly shonens that aired on Toonami, you know, the Dragon Balls and the Yu Yu Hakushos of the world. But there was something about Attack on Titan that felt so much more refined to me. The terror and the dread that set in upon seeing these massive human-like figures, but were still demonic and monstrous in a sense, tear apart a village, put legitimate fear into our main character and myself while watching this show. It was a unique experience. I showed it to a female that I had an interest in at the time. She enjoyed the hell out of it, and we've been dating for 6 years at this point, although that's probably not related, I hope. My point is, I then proceeded to go onto Reddit and take a look at the Attack on Titan subreddit and realized that there were an absurd amount of memes that came from this anime. Some of which you might know at this point, such as the, "Oh, that was a strange thing to ask." And slowly over the course of time, I realized that a large portion of the memes that I had been enjoying up until this point had come from relatively popular animated TV shows straight out of Japan. And it made me a little bit sad. As someone who considers himself pretty well versed in meme culture, how was it possible that I was completely lacking in any sort of knowledge when it came to the source material for a lot of these memes? And so, naturally, slowly over time, I started to watch more and more anime. I've seen some great ones, and I've seen some awful ones. And today I thought it might be interesting for those of you at home that really do know your animes to take a peek into what I think about some of the shows that I've watched over the years. And so today, we'll be taking a look at all the cringy takes that I've got on anime, as well as some of the less cringy takes that I have on anime. I could have said that better. So what we're going to be doing today is taking a look at my personal MyAnimeList account. If you guys aren't familiar with MyAnimeList.net, it's a free website where you can create an account and then upload all the animes that you have watched thus far, and apply a rating to each one of those shows. That way, not only can people see what animes you intend to watch, what you're watching currently, and what you've already finished, but they can also see just what you thought of whatever anime that you watched, which has definitely not led to a lot of arguments online because nobody can agree on what a good anime is. Now, while I personally feel like I have an okay taste in anime, I haven't watched all that many, so I'm excited to see just how terrible my taste in anime might be compared to some of you more seasoned veterans, but according to the laws of the land, before I can do a video specifically about anime, I have to rap the intro to the original One Piece airing in English, so I don't make the rules.
Yo! Don't give it up, Luffy. Don't give it up, Solo. Don't give it up, Nami. Don't give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. Here's how the story goes. We find out about the treasure at the Grand Line. There's no doubt the pirate whose eyes on it, he'll sing, "I'll be king of the pirates, I'm gonna be king." Yayo, yayo, ho ho. His name is Luffy. That's Monkey D. Luffy. King of the pirates. He's made of rubber. How did that happen? Yo ho ho, he took a bite of gum gum. His name's Zolo, he's just like a samurai and an LADY. Nami's not shy. The pirate crew coming through doing the thing with the king of the pirates. He's gonna be king. Yayo, yayo, ho ho. Set sail for One Piece. It's the name of the treasure at the Grand Line. Yayo, yayo, set sail for One Piece.
I'm pretty sure I memorized the entirety of that intro when I was like 14 years old, and to this day, I probably couldn't tell you what a single episode of One Piece was about. So enough messing around, let's get into my garbage taste in anime. This is MyAnimeList.net/SumitoMedia, linked below if you guys want to check it out in your own time. I've got this custom image of my face from the End of Evangelion poster made by the lovely Rae Kochanski, who does all of my graphics, and the lists of all the different animes that I've watched. There's a total of about 33 of these guys. This is counting different seasons, so like 5 seasons of an anime is 5 separate animes that you can score separately. So really, I've only watched maybe like 20 or so animes total. I don't have anything scoring lower than a 5 on this list. I haven't really seen anything that I think is god-awful. I mean, I have seen an anime that I would definitely rate a 0, but Boku, no way am I adding that to a social profile where people can see that I watched that one. So we'll be starting with the lowest number 5s that I have on this list, starting with High Score Girl. So High Score Girl was an anime that I found on Netflix one day and just decided to watch with my girlfriend. It's technically a romance anime, but it's kind of cool in that the main character in it is like an arcade nerd. He's someone who's really into video games in Japan. So he's got like a Dreamcast at his house, and he's playing old school like Street Fighter and Galaga and stuff like that. And throughout the show, while there is mainly a romance between him and this other girl who's very, very good at video games, but she has to like hide it from her parents, and she's like whooping his ass in Street Fighter 2 to the point where he has to pull out some sort of nefarious, cheesy tactics in order to beat her, and like he feels like he lost out on, you know, what made him such a good gamer because he had to resort to that. But it's cool because they have like old school games, and they have the soundtracks, and they even work in a lot of really like nuanced details that went into like how certain games worked, certain game mechanics. You know, it's like they incorporated a lot of like real video game knowledge in this anime. But I have it scored as a 5 just because it's sort of a weird mix of two different genres. I mean, you've got a lot of video game nostalgia, retro gaming nerd stuff that I thought was pretty cool, but then you also have like a very, you know, go by the book cheesy romance where the dude kind of likes the girl, but the girl can't like him back, but shows off that she likes him, and they're from two different worlds, and oh my god, there's another girl, and this other girl's also into video games, and oh no, the first girl moved away, I bet she won't come back in season 2. It was okay. It's kind of cute. I wouldn't recommend anybody watch it if you're into sort of whatever cutesy animes. There was a second season made on Netflix. I didn't end up watching it, but season 1 gets a 5 from me. It's okay. It's not offensive, but it's not fantastic. Up next in the 5s, we have 3 full Berserk movies for some reason. I don't remember what the scenarios were where I got just bullied into group watching this with a bunch of friends in Discord like 3 or 4 years ago, but over the course of a couple days, we ended up watching all 3 of these like hour-and-a-half long movies. Berserk, to my understanding, is the longest running manga in the history of manga. It's like 30 freaking years running currently. The movies are a little bit awkward. I mean, the stories themselves are tied together. They are the beginning of the story, to my understanding. But then the end of the last movie leads into the anime. They're animated kind of weird. They're using like a new-ish 3D technology it looks awkward. The battle scenes were... It's awkward. It's really awkward looking. I'll put up a clip on screen if I can. But it follows our main character, Guts, and he's super powerful, and he's got a buddy who's then not really his buddy, and then a bunch of people get tortured. It's pretty violent. It's pretty adult. It's not bad. The story going forward is pretty intense. But there's just so much to go through. I'd have to read like thousands of books of manga. I'd have to watch through the anime things to continue along with the story. I think the 3 movies that I ended up watching, I don't even know if they're all the movies, told a relatively decent story. There were some cool characters. There were some really cool fight scenes, some really intense moments of people kicking each other's ass, but it was kind of whatever for me. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was the greatest, so it ends up as a 5 on my list. If you guys know anime, you know what Berserk is. I don't really know anime, but I ended up seeing these, so that's where they land on my list. Up next in the 5s is Kaichowa Maidsama, or just Maidsama on Netflix. 26 episodes. I don't know why I have this one as a 5. I feel like I might have been embarrassed to put this higher on a scoring, but this anime follows a female high school student named Mizaki Ayuzawa, who is the class president, which in Japan basically makes you the dictator. Like it's a meme in the anime community just how much power student councils have for some reason. Like they'll send students to detention or hanging from their neck, or they have all the power in the world when it comes to the high school for some reason. But she is at an all-boys school because it was cheaper for her to go there. And she's a female at an all-boys school, of which there are other females at this all-boys school. I'm not really sure how this works, but she's the class president and she rules with an iron fist. She is very much the boss when it comes to what's going on at the school, and she makes a lot of effort to make sure that the other very few females that are in this all-boys school are represented equally and treated fairly and what have you. But as you could tell from the name, her part-time job is working at a maid cafe. If you guys aren't familiar with maid cafes, in Japan, a maid cafe is where all the waitresses at this cafe are dressed in maid outfits, and they act very subservient. They're very, yes, master, whatever you want sort of thing. They'll write your name in ketchup on your egg omelets and a lot of other things that I learned through watching this anime. So obviously, there's this dynamic between her working at the maid cafe and trying to keep people at school from discovering that she works at a maid cafe and tearing away the mask that is her cold, hard exterior. And our other protagonist here, I've forgotten his name, but the guy who's in the picture there knows her secret but doesn't really share her secret with anybody, and instead tries to make sure that she doesn't flub around and get in trouble with other schools discovering that she's working as a maid and what have you. It's cute. It's romancy. There are a few genuinely funny moments in the anime. I think it's just the 26 episodes, a little bit slow paced. A lot of it's just very traditional anime stuff with the characters. But the episodes that really play heavily into her role at the maid cafe and her power dynamic between herself and the other guys in the school is pretty endearing. I think it's a good watch. I'm probably going to bump it up to higher than a 5. It's not a bad anime. It's actually pretty solid. You guys can see most people rate it an 8, which is super high. So check this one out, even if you're not really into anime. I think you'd actually genuinely like this one specifically. Up next in the 6s, we have Aggressive Retsuko or Aggretsuko, also available on Netflix. I've watched season 1 and season 2, although season 3 is out. I just haven't watched it yet. This one follows our main character, who is a red panda named Aggretsuko. Aggressive Retsuko, sorry. It follows her going through her sort of mundane life working in an office alongside her coworkers and what have you, but she has a secret, and that is that after hours she enjoys karaoke, but not just any karaoke, heavy, screaming, death metal karaoke. And you can see from some of the footage that I'm probably playing that it's intense, it's got some great animation, it's a very cute, sort of funny, very slice of life sort of anime. That's just sort of, you know, it's just one of those shows. Like, there isn't anything crazy about it, but it's got some cute characters, it's got some funny characters, it works in a lot of social media, it works in a lot of very mundane problems that everybody has at their workplace with their coworkers. So I feel like it's got an air of like, everybody can sort of relate to the sort of issues that are in the show. And the fact that it's got great music, it's got some pretty solid voice acting if you watch it in English. It's solid. I gave it a 6. Most people gave it between a 7 and an 8. It's a pretty popular show. Check this one out. It wasn't as funny as some of my favorite shows. It wasn't as life-changing as some of my favorite shows, but it's definitely a good one. If you're just looking for something casual to watch, this on Netflix is a great one. Up next in the 6s, we have Backstreet Girls or Goku Dolls, which is probably my favorite anime to describe to someone. It is such a brilliant concept of an anime, and I wish I scored it higher. I watched it, I was dying laughing at some of the moments in this anime, and when I started making my anime list, I felt the need to rewatch some shows so that I could sort of rate them fairly, and it didn't hang as much as some of the higher scoring shows, so it ended up as a 6, but the premise of this one's beautiful. So a Yakuza boss discovers that 3 of his Yakuza men have totally failed in one of their missions, right? Brought tremendous amount of disgrace to his name. So he decides, rather than killing them, to fly them out to Japan, Korea, Vietnam, wherever, and have them all get sex changes so that they can become an idol group, like a K-pop group, basically. And they decide to do that instead of being killed, and then the rest of the show follows them becoming one of the most popular pop singing group as a group of 3 females doing their songs, learning to sing, learning to dance, all while being run by the Yakuza. And like the voices in their head are still their male counterparts, like, how did we get into this? I can't believe we're doing this. But then on the exterior, they're doing like fan meet and greets and having to shake hands with people. And it goes through a lot. They eventually introduce more characters. As females, they bump into like other Yakuza bosses that they knew back when they were like Yakuza men. And it's great. If you've watched a few animes, I think you'll really appreciate just how absurd this one is. If you haven't watched any animes, this one's really, there's a few moments that are a little bit gross, and they really play into that crude humor, but like, I love stuff like that, dude. So this is, don't tell anyone I told you to watch it, but you should maybe watch this one, maybe. It's on Netflix. Yuri on Ice. The next anime we're taking a look at that also scored a 6 is called Yuri on Ice. This follows our main character, Yuri Katsuki, and his antagonist, who is also named Yuri for some reason, in a figure skating anime. And I don't know what it is that I like about figure skating or volleyball or just sports animes, but there's something that I really dig about like the intricate details that they put into like how to score points and like the intricacies of figure dancing or volleyball or basketball or whatever it is. It's so fun to watch for me. I will say that I initially watched this because Yuri on Ice is very much a meme. This is described as a yaoi, which in Japanese culture means boys love, so like guy on guy romance. This is very light in that category. I think if you're the type of person who watches a lot of yaoi, you might not even consider this one a yaoi. There's just a little bit of romanticism between Yuri and his teacher, who's like teaching him how to figure skate because he's also like an Olympic figure skater. But it follows our main character, Yuri Katsuki, as he gets taught by a Olympic figure skater that he's looked up to his whole life on how to get better at figure skating. And he goes into the finals. He's representing Japan. He wants to get into the Olympics, and it just follows him succeeding and failing and getting better. And it's all, I felt like it was super well done. It's got an overall rating of an 8 on MyAnimeList, which again is relatively high when you have 300,000 people voting on it. I thought it was a solid anime. This is, I think, not available on Netflix. I ended up watching this on like Crunchyroll or something, but I don't know who to recommend this to. I literally don't know how to describe it. Like the appeal that I got out of it was I just thought it was a relatively well-written, fun story for 4 hours of my life, the 12 episodes that I watched. I thought it was pretty solid. So if the idea of slightly gay figure skating excites you, then welcome to the club and go watch this maybe. Do not watch the English dub. I forgot to mention this. The English dub for this is, oh my god, terrible. Please watch it in Japanese.
You gotta be kidding, Mom. I'm gonna die. Ooh, sir! Nishikori.
You're fatter than me.
Stop. This isn't funny.
I want food and the best.
Plastic Nissan, an absolute classic. The reason that this is on my anime list is because the whole 12 episodes of the show, the entire thing is less than half an hour and is completely available on YouTube. Like you could watch it right now in half an hour and watch all 12 episodes of this. It follows 3 girls in high school as they just do goofy stuff. It's a very Japanese riddled comedy that takes place in high school. It's from back in like 2011. It's a very old anime in that regard. So it's got very old school, fast-paced, absurd Japanese humor that doesn't make a ton of sense, but is sort of funny. They make fun of each other. They make fun of like guys that they're into. They have like a fat, gross character. Like it's every high school comedy anime ever. But this one's a super classic one because it's got a huge number of memes that came from it. You guys probably recognize a few of them as you watch through the thing. There isn't a ton more for me to say. It was funny for its time. It might be funny for you now, but it's so readily available and there were so many memes to come from it that like, of course it's got to be on my list. So there you go. Anohana. In English, we still don't know the name of the flower we saw that day. Available on Netflix, and in Japanese, I don't know why I keep trying to say this every time. Ano himita hana no name wa boku tachi wa mada shiranai, in case you wanted to hear me say that, is a very artsy anime. I'll put it that way. The music is beautiful. The voice acting is beautiful. The animation is great. The story it tells is about a group of friends who have a mutual friend named Menma who ends up dying tragically one day in the past. And the ghost of Menma comes to meet our main character, and the group of friends has to sort of come together as they have fallen out over the years in order to sort of put to rest the ghost of their friend in the past. And it's kind of beautiful. It's rated super highly, and a lot of people put this up there as one of the best animes in terms of like story and like in making them cry and stuff. I did think it was beautiful. It's a 6 on my list just because I really prioritize like action and comedy, and this one was, it definitely hit me. It was definitely emotional, but not necessarily my cup of tea, not something I'd want to sit down and rewatch with somebody else. But if that sounds intriguing to you, it's very well done. So maybe check it out. Interspecies reviewers, or Ishuzoku reviewers in Japanese, is an anime? Question mark. There is a genre of anime in Japanese that is known as, I don't know if it'll say it here, but it's basically anime that has, it's called an ecchi. It's anime that's super sexual and in a lot of cases will have nudity if you watch the uncensored version of it. This anime follows a group of reviewers who live in a fantasy world where there are angels and orcs and cat girls and cowgirls, and they are all succubuses in one way or another. Basically, they go to a bunch of different brothels where you can sleep with a bunch of different species of people, and they make a bulletin board giving their reviews on how each one of them enjoyed their experience at these brothels. It is not something you should be watching if you're under the age of 18. Don't you dare even try it. But if you do go and find either the censored or the uncensored version of this, it wasn't bad. It was good for a lot of good laughs. It was a very interesting concept. A lot of people unironically call this the best anime of 2020. We've had some great ones this year, but this is one that was totally out of left field. I really enjoyed it. It's very new. We actually ended up watching a few episodes of this. And really, like, a lot of people get the jokes out of this. Like, they like some of the girls that exist. Like, they have, like, a girl who's made of lava. They have a girl who's literally a cowgirl. Like, not like Texas, like milk. Anyway, I didn't tell you to go watch this one, okay? But if you do, let me know. Zombieland Saga. This anime was available on Netflix. It's 12 episodes. This was the first anime that I saw that was a parody anime. So it's basically like an anime. So this anime is a idol anime. Idols are like pop singers, like K-pop stars and stuff in Japanese culture. So if you're an idol, you're like a singer, you're famous basically. So this follows an idol group that is comprised entirely of girls who have died and then have been reincarnated as zombies by this dude who wants to make an idol group. So he makes them up in makeup so people can't see that they're zombies, and then sometimes they do performances and it's great, and sometimes they do performances and their head falls off, and it's this whole super goofy anime that makes fun of traditional tropes and other like legitimate idol animes. And I just thought it was hilarious. The specific scene in the intro of this where our main character gets hit by a truck is in and of itself a parody of a very common trope of the main character getting hit by a truck to get isekai'd into another dimension that I actually parody in the intro to my videos. I have a version of myself getting hit by a truck after watching this anime. It's a 7 because it's hard for me to rewatch. I rewatched it so that I could give it a fair score, and it wasn't as funny as I remembered, but it is funny. It is crazy funny. I think you will get legitimate laughs out of this. There isn't any real gross out humor. There isn't any over sexuality in this. So, you know, I'm pretty sure if you're, 15, 16, 17 and you want to watch some goofy ass anime, I wholeheartedly recommend this. I got some solid kecks out of this one, bro. The Great Pretender is a fantastic anime, and I think the first 8 that we're taking a look at on my list. This was recommended to me by my good friend Wild Spartans, who told me to check this out when I was looking for anime to watch. It just aired between June and September of this year. The animation on this is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Everything's this sort of like techno dark reds and bright blues. It's very stylistic with the artwork that it does, and the story is gorgeous. It's a heist anime where they're doing these big elaborate ploys to steal millions and millions of dollars from these people, and the plots get intricate and the characters get backstories and everything feels like it's gonna fall apart, but nope, they know what they're doing. They tie it together. It's so good. Available on Netflix. It's 24 episodes. I didn't even realize, man. I finished this in like a night. Watch The Great Pretender. Fantastic anime. Beastars. I don't think I really need to tell you about this one. Even if you don't really watch anime, but you're kind of into it, you've probably heard of Beastars. 12 episodes. The first season of Beastars came out late last year, almost exactly a year ago. We're at the 8s on my list at this point. So everything from this point on is basically one of my favorite animes that I've seen so far. Beastars is a high school romance mystery sort of anime, but everybody is a animal. It's an anthropomorphic animal where everybody's got sort of human characteristics. They all walk upright, but there is still this sort of dynamic between the carnivores and the herbivores in this world, where everybody eats these vegetarian meals at their school. Eating meat is very much frowned down upon because obviously everybody's an animal, so it's a very black market underground thing to be eating meat. It's very looked down upon in society. And the whole story plays into a lot of romance, a lot of power dynamics, a little bit of mystery. There's some political corruption, like 12 episodes of Beastars. I think you kind of have to like romance a little bit. If you only like action and mystery, this does play pretty heavily into some like relationship dynamics between like bullies and love interests and who's the boss of who sort of thing. You know, like in all sorts of high school animes, you'll typically see something like that. This is definitely one of those, but it's beautifully story written. It's beautifully artistic. You'll probably like Beastars. Just objectively, you'll probably like Beastars. Chio-chan no Sugakuro, or Chio School Road, is available on Hulu. Watch it in English. The English voice acting is phenomenal. This follows our main character Chio as she goes to school. That's it. Every episode is her going to school and the hijinks that she bumps into and waking up late because she was gaming all night and getting into trouble with her best friends and bumping into bullies and biker gangs. It is hilarious. I have rewatched this show dozens of times. It is so funny to me. And I don't know if it's like the funniest show ever. This originally aired in 2018. It only got one season, but I just think it's so funny. I think it's so endearing. I think Chio, being a video game nerd and having trouble in school and always thinking about games, speaks to me personally. She's a very traditional protagonist in that she overcomes issues and she meets friends and everybody's super goofy. Everything, you know, it gets a little sexual. It gets a little bit, you know, they find a cigarette. Oh my God, I like a guy. Like there's always that sort of high school dynamic with anime like that. But this is so funny, bro. Maybe watch it. Maybe be over 18. There's a little bit of like panty flashing and stuff, but so funny, this anime, dude. Saiki Kusuo, or The Disastrous Life of Saiki K, Season 1, 2, and 3 are available on Netflix, although only Season 1 is dubbed. The rest are Season 2 is in Japanese, Season 3 is in English. I don't know why. Or I do know why. It's because the company who was doing the dubs didn't do Season 2 and then came back for Season 3 or something like that. But this is a dialogue-heavy comedy. So a lot of the jokes that are in this show are very much through the interactions of the different characters that you have. Our main character, Saiki Kusuo, is a psychic. He has basically every power under the sun, and as a result has to sort of live his life in a way where, you know, he's bored of being a psychic. He's tired of knowing the lottery ticket numbers. He's tired of knowing what everybody else thinks. He's tired of having superpowers. And so he tries to just live a normal life, but he bumps into issues. People get in trouble. Sometimes it's just he runs out of patience with certain things and has to try and save himself using his psychic powers to do mundane things like get a coffee jelly, or, oh no, I forgot my wallet at home. Looks like I got to use the random rules with the powers that I have to figure out a solution. It's really funny. It's dialogue-heavy comedy, which I love. You guys know I like good comedy writing. But I don't see why you wouldn't. If you watch me, I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy an anime like this. I think you genuinely get a ton of laughs out of this. Go watch this one. Go watch this and everything else that I've watched, and then come back to me and tell me I wasted your time. That's fine, but watch it. One Punch Man. If you don't watch anime, this is probably one of the animes you should watch to get into anime. One Punch Man follows our main character, Saitama, who has the power of defeating literally anybody with one punch. And the story, rather than following him just punching people to death, instead follows just how mundane his life has become now that he has the solution to every problem ever. He instead struggles with things like a fly that's landed on his balcony and making sure that he gets to the grocery store on time so that he can get to the sales for his groceries that day. That's what he's concerned with, because the monsters that are taking over his region of Tokyo don't bug him because he can defeat everything in one punch. And yet still, there is fantastic action, there are massive creatures. There are a lot of other characters who all have very unique powers that are a ton of fun to watch. Obviously, at the end of the day, Saitama ends up solving the problem with just a single punch, but much like watching Superman, where you know he's going to win at the end, it's still so satisfying to watch every other struggle that occurs in the show until Saitama shows up. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It parodies a lot of other animes because it's so much newer, so it can sort of play on a lot of tropes that people are used to and then sort of parody them. Watch One Punch Man. I can't imagine you haven't already if you clicked on a video like this, but watch One Punch Man. Attack on Titan. I have only watched the first 3 seasons. I pretty much grouped the first 2 seasons as an 8 on my list. I haven't watched 3 recently, or I don't know if it's 4 or 5 that's been released. Fantastic anime. Beautiful storyline, beautiful music, unbelievable action sequences. This follows a world where there are mutated humans or titans, they're not sure if they're humans, that have grown to 50 meters tall, 60 meters tall, and they build these giant walls in order to safe haven people so that they can live in peace. However, a unbelievably massive titan kicks in one of the walls one day after hundreds of years of peace, and the scout troop, these guys who have these gasoline-powered zip lines that they can shoot from their hips to rapidly fly across massive amounts of space, kind of like Spider-Man, and these razor-sharp blades with replaceable blades that they can sort of shove into their sheaths and then pull out with new blades, teach themselves to attach themselves to these titans, slice them across the back of the neck so that they can kill them. And the story uncovers where the titans came from, why they're attacking humans, what they can do to save the day, and it's gruesome, it's dark, it's satisfyingly scary, sort of. Like, it's a very foreboding, you get a lot of feelings of how are we going to kill these titans sort of thing, because at no point are they just slicing hundreds of them to death. Every single one of them feels like they take a casualty or they take a huge mess of time to kill, and they just keep getting bigger and bigger and faster and stronger and smarter. Fantastic watch. We are at the 9s, ladies and gentlemen. I think there's only 4 or 5 animes from this point on, and these are all some of the best animes, some of the funniest, some of the most action-filled animes that I have watched, all at the end of this list. If you've made it this far, thank you. But the first 9 that we've got is, of course, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, an unbelievable anime. I cannot believe how popular this is for just being another shonen, technically. Demon Slayer follows a kid, Tenjiro, who finds that his family has been slaughtered by demons, but leaves his one younger sister alive. However, she's been bitten and therefore is technically a demon. And he goes on a journey to become a demon slayer, one of these people who is taught the way of the blade to be able to breathe in a way that gives them unbelievable powers. And every single episode, action-filled, triumphant, unbelievable odds in front of him, and yet he does his best to overcome them. The artwork is gorgeous. The battle scenes are intense. The music is foreboding. You need to be watching Demon Slayer. The first 26 episodes are out. I think the movie's out in Japan, and that's the next story arc. Haven't seen it. Don't know if it's coming to the States yet. Don't know if I should wait or should just pirate it, but Demon Slayer is phenomenal, bro. Haikyuu, a volleyball anime. One that I am not ashamed to say that I watched all 4 or 5 seasons in like a week flat. Granted, this was during the month where I was at a commission and I didn't have anything else to do, but wow, I did not know I loved sports animes. Every character in the show has a personality. Every single match that they go up against is intense, and you're excited to see how they can deal with their interpersonal struggles to come together as a team, to use their strengths, to hide each other's weaknesses in order to overcome the odds of the superior team 9 times out of 10. It is such a good anime. I don't know what I've been doing with my life that I haven't been watching anime, because shows like this make me feel like I've been missing out, bro. 25 episodes in the first season. It's probably like 50, 60, 70 episodes altogether if you want to watch the whole 4 storylines, and I recommend, if you like the first 5 or 10 episodes, like it just continues on and stays fire, dude. Prison School. Don't watch this if you're under 18. Don't watch this if you don't like random sexuality, and don't watch this if you don't like gross out humor. That being said, one of the funniest animes I have seen in my life. Oh my god. The combination of the absurd situations, the ridiculous characters, the unimaginable story, the ridiculous power dynamics. Prison School is actually a pretty solid story from front to end. It has a ridiculous amount of humor. It's got a great amount of tension in the story that's going on. The whole premise is completely crazy. It's 4 of the guys, 5 of the guys that are in an otherwise all-girl school get caught peeping and now have to live in a prison where they force them to do manual labor by these 3 super hot chicks that happen to be the student council. Like, it's this whole thing, but it is right up my alley, bro. My style of humor. It's crazy. It'll make you feel bad for laughing at some of the situations. It'll have you laughing at just the way that people say stuff in that very Japanese, super fast-paced, no, please, that sort of thing. I love it. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. Don't watch it and then come back to me and say, Sumito, that was gross. I hated it. Just don't watch it. I'm fine with being the only person who appreciates this for the masterpiece that it is. The last 9 that's on my list, Death Note. I don't know why I had never seen Death Note until about 4 months ago. Death Note originally came out in 2006. What was I doing in 2000? I was like 13, so maybe I didn't have the sophistication to appreciate a masterpiece like this. Death Note falls off in the second end. The entire 37 episodes of it aren't fantastic, but the episodes that are, the 20 or so episodes that really play with the mind games between our lead protagonist and his killing spree and the police trying to catch him, is one of the greatest pieces of animated cinema ever. The tense mind games, the outplays, the intricacies that go into just some of the dialogue that's in this show are crazy good. I don't need to tell you Death Note's good. Everybody and their mom has told you that Death Note's good, but it's on my list, and I feel, when I watched Death Note, I yelled at my girlfriend for an hour and a half straight for not forcing me to watch Death Note earlier in our relationship. You had already seen this anime, and you never told me to sit down and see this anime? What? Ridiculous. Go watch Death Note. It's on Netflix. Why not? 10. There are only technically 2 animes that I have as a 10 on my list. Obviously, this might change over time, but at the moment, these are the animes that I feel are absolute masterpieces in what they do. And I've got one that's action, and I've got one that's comedy. And the comedy is Danshi Kukusi no Nichijo, or The Daily Lives of High School Boys. This is yet again a parody anime. This is an anime that parodies all the mundane high school animes that had been coming up over the years, and does it in a way that is so funny to me, so unbelievably funny to me. I die in every single episode. I feel like Kenny in South Park, bro. I can't make it to the end of an episode without dying, dude. This originally aired in 2012. There's only 12 episodes of it. It's not on Netflix. Go watch it on Crunchyroll or something. But it's just high school boys doing high school stuff. They're doing stupid things. They get caught doing stupid things. They have weird relationships with each other. They ask each other questions about how life and girls work, and it is just so freaking funny. It's this cringe humor that they've got where every situation really makes you, are they really going there? Is this really happening? It's not overly sexual. It's not overly gross, although there's a little bit of that sprinkled in, but it is done so beautifully. There are episodes of this full-fledged on YouTube. Feel free to check out episode 1 or 2, and I just love it, man. I love this anime. I get a warm feeling inside to know that other people were also super cringy when they were teenagers. It makes me feel like I'm not alone. It's that sort of moving fucking feeling that I get out of this anime, dude. I love this show. Last but certainly not least, and this should be a surprise to nobody who's watched me for a while or has come to hang out on a Twitch stream where you know the chat will inevitably devolve into why Neon Genesis Evangelion and the end of Evangelion are some of the greatest pieces of cinema to ever exist. But the other 10 on my list, and I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite anime, I might say it's the anime I hate the most for making me feel the way that it does, is Neon Genesis Evangelion and the Neon Genesis Evangelion End of Evangelion movie. These are both available on Netflix. This originally aired in 1997 for the movie, and then I think 1995 for the show. The show is as old as I am, and it is beautiful. 26 episodes in a movie, and it follows our main character Shinji Ikari as he has to pilot this giant mecha in order to save Tokyo 3 from these monsters called angels that are all unique and need a different solution in order to beat. And initially it starts out as a mecha action fighting, and very quickly, slowly, depending on how you look at it, devolves into a psychotic self-analysis of oneself and his relationships with the people around him and society as a whole. And it asks the question, should we have freedom? Should you be allowed to be friends and have interactions with society when in reality all it can really bring you is pain? Should you put up this shield to keep yourself from getting hurt? Is it worth it in order to feel love? It's beautiful, dude. This is one of those movies that's very artsy. People who really know film and symbolism will appreciate movies like this for having a lot of, I mean, it's called Neon Genesis Evangelion, right? The retelling of the book of Genesis. So it's got a lot of Christian-inspired symbolism and a lot of things like that. But this is the first anime that I watched that really made me feel, dude. Really made me think, left me with a real deep emptiness after I watched it, and really made me reevaluate sort of the way that I looked at cinema and anime and art in that way. And because of that, it's really high up on my list, and it's really high up on everybody's list for a long time. It's an old anime. It's a very well-respected anime, and again, it should be nobody's surprise that it's at the #1 spot on my list. So that's all I got for you. I didn't include a couple of the animes that I watched on my list just because they were like whatever romance animes that I didn't have anything interesting to say. I obviously didn't include Dragon Ball Z, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Yu Yu Hakusho just because I haven't watched those recently enough to be able to give them an accurate, updated rating. But I'm excited to see you guys share your anime lists with me. Leave them in the comments. Send them to me on Twitter. If you have other animes that you think I should watch, if you want to make your own MyAnimeList, feel free to add me as a friend on this website. I love the idea of you guys checking out stuff that I enjoy to see if you enjoy them as well, so that we can get a bit of a consensus on, you know, what we all like and what we don't. And overall, I just really appreciate you watching a video like this. I know this isn't typically what goes up on my channel, but making this video has been an obscene amount of fun for me. I really enjoyed putting together my thoughts for this video, and I really hope that you guys liked it. I hope you like it. I hope you share it. I hope you subscribe. I hope you look forward to more stuff like this in the future, because I really enjoyed making this episode, and I really thank you for watching through this far, and I hope you got some watching material in the future. I hope you learned a little bit more about me and the sort of cinema that I watched that made me have the sort of personality and comedic timing that I do now. And I hope some of this resonates with you the way that it did with me. So thanks for making it to the end. I hope to see you guys with hopefully a Spodcast soon, but definitely a video at the very least coming up next week. And once again, just thanks for watching, man. You guys are the best. Peace.